Okay, let me turn that down. Add a bit of music on there while I was waiting for everyone to connect so you can see that we are live. Tuesday night, 8 o'clock. Good evening, Gaz. How are you, sir? You alright, brother? How's it going, my man? You enjoyed the last stream that we did, didn't you, when we were talking about the old days? You had a nice input on that one. So nice to have you along, my friend. Nice to have you along. Easy, Derek. Hello, man. Not that long before we see each other in sunny Costa Blanca. It's not that sunny today, actually. It's been quite cloudy. I'm just going to ramble on for a little bit while one or two people join us. So if you are just jumping onto the stream, welcome along. I will be repeating myself for the next 5 minutes or so, just allowing a few people to get themselves comfy. You can see on the screen what we're doing. This is a little conversation about the lost years, putting the pieces together one trip at a time, talking about, I'll recap talking about 1989 and 1990, and then specifically I have a list of clubs that we were attending in 1991 and 1992, so that's where we're at. Good evening, Damien. Good afternoon, sir. Hope you're well, brother. I saw your comments earlier about vocal booth. It did make me chuckle. Anyone else passing through, say hello, let me know you're there. This should be quite interesting. It's going to be relevant to anybody at any part of the UK, because we're going to be looking back on some events that became famous for all of us. In the background, some instrumentals from King Brit. Check this out. Yes, Mr. Jarman. Stick around, Mark. I hope you can have some input on the conversation tonight, my friend. I'm not sure if there's going to be any venues listed over your sides, but I'm sure you can have some input and tell us about what was going down back then. And at some point, Mark, as well, you and I can do another conversation on the video. I think we did it just on audio before, didn't we? So this time around, we'll have a video conversation. Okay, so a couple more minutes and then I'm just going to delve in. If you're watching the recording, then as always, I welcome you along. Thank you for coming and checking out. Hopefully, we're going to put a smile on your face. So I'll keep my mouth shut just for a little bit. Let some more people come in and then we're good to go. Good evening, Andrea. Welcome. How's your head after the bank holiday? Actually, how's everybody's head after the bank holiday? I feel fresh as a daisy, smug as always. I always feel smug after a big bank holiday for you lot over there. 2 early mornings for myself, alcohol free all weekend, and I'm ready to attack September head on. The matter of a little party to take care of in just over 4 weeks and counting. Right, okay, I'm going to get involved. If you could share the stream for me, it would really help try and maybe get 1 or 2 more people involved, because the whole point of doing these is for it to be as interactive as possible. We want to remember a lot of events and a lot of clubs that we all have fun memories of. Okay, so right, 5 minutes introduction, all done and dusted. Let's get to this. I'll explain again for the first time. Not for the first time, should I say. This is the lost years. I'm going to be talking, I could easily be on for 35, 40, 45 minutes. We're going to be discussing some of the venues, some of the events that we attended back in our early days. Now, a few weeks ago, I did something similar and I covered the years 1989 and 1990. We spoke about the first event that we went to at Prestatyn. So let me go to the slideshow, and here you can see Prestatyn 1989. Since I did that first conversation, I have found these images which blew me away, and again it pieces a lot of the jigsaw together. So 1989, Prestatyn 5, Easter bank holiday weekend. Myself and all the lads headed up there, and we were beer monsters all weekend long. So then you skip forward. This is a guest pass that I would have found somewhere on the floor, and I remember keeping it and trying to make out to everybody that I was live on stage, something like that. 1989, I had zero intention of ever being a DJ. I had zero desire to be a DJ, and I had no I had no realization what was ahead of me. So that's Prestatyn 5. Skip forward just a few months to November in 1989, and this is Prestatyn number 6. The hair's longer, and I did say on the last stream that we did this, we were full on ravers by 1989, getting involved in everything that goes with clubbing. I had a conversation with Drew and Mikey a few months ago saying, listen, as time's getting on and you're getting older now, I'm going to be talking about a few things that I would have never dreamt of talking about before. And Drew said, yeah, Dad, you spoke about drugs before on your radio shows and stuff. So, yeah, the cat's out the bag. Right, okay, I'm going to race forward. So, again, Prestatyn 7. We spoke about this. This would have been 1990 when we went to Prestatyn 7. That's one of my passes. Yes, Damien, you can spot the smile a mile off. Mr. Jeff Jefferson, greetings, my friend. How are you, brother? I hope you're well. Right. Where am I? I need to go here. That's it. I'm a little bit too close. So more photographs. So if I just go back quickly to remind myself, the blue pass is Prestatyn 6. So this photo here is in the chalet, Prestatyn 6. On the left-hand side, my good friend Andy Urays. I'm chuckling at Ashley West, the next one along. Look how young and small and tiny Ashley West looks. That's insane. The geezer at the front is Mr. Rob Johnson, a legend in his own right. And then on the right-hand side, my very, very good friend, Mr. Gary Davis. Gary isn't on Facebook. A lot of people will know Gary from back at the Powerhouse days, Edwards, Boogies, all of those kind of things. And then he started coming raving with us all. So that's Gary there. Good evening, Miles. How are you, brother? Shouts out to Suki, also to Cliff. Good evening, all. Thank you for passing through. Still continuing on the journey, another pass. Now this is Breen Sands 1990, December 30th into January the 1st. At the bottom it says dancing into a new decade. Now this, again, it blew me away. I did say last time I would have put big money on the fact that I was sure I was in Birmingham for the scene in the new decade from 89 to 90. Clearly I wasn't. That was the following year. In 1990 I was here. 89 to 90 I was here at Breen Sands, and this is a photo of us all at Breen Sands. Myself at the front, Rob Johnson, top left hand corner, Mr. Steve Warner, Big Steve on the right, I believe. My mind's just gone blank. and then little Chris at the front. Brilliant. 20, no, 19 years of age I would have been there. 19 and a half. Bad Boy Night Trainers, absolutely love those. Again, same rave, same weekender, and as you can see, I spoke about it last time. Unashamed acid Ted, my hoodie, and my Jester bottoms. One red leg and one blue leg. It happens. It did happen. There you go. Proof. Raving as hard as you can. There's Rob. Mr. Rob Johnson, incredible DJ. I'm trying to get him to come and do a live stream with me at some point on the Brummers Fuck series, but he's very shy. He's got tales to tell. Let me tell you. Again in the chalet, Warner, Rob, Chris, and myself in the back. I don't think I could even grow a moustache then. And then Warner, fast asleep in bed. Wonderful. Right, so I need to remember to come back to this, because actually no, while I'm here, I'll carry on going, because now I also found some membership cards, photos of membership cards. So this is a steering wheel Birmingham. You can clearly see 95, 96. So we're skipping way ahead there. Branston's, this is a membership card for where Wobble used to be on a Saturday night. I'm not sure what year that would have been. Breathless, we're going to talk about in a little while when I show you a list of all the clubs we were attending. This was a Birmingham event. And there you go, 1992. My membership card for Venus, the club in Nottingham. We'll discuss that in a little while. Good afternoon, Siobhan. How are you, my love? Thank you. Saying beautiful memories. We've got a load more if you can stick around. And Damien says, different colour wallabies, black and purple. Yeah, I never went as far as busting different colour shoes. And I don't think I ever had wallabies. I was purely a night trainers and a kicker boots man. So there's the front of the card, and here's the back of the card. Now, I'd said back in 1989 I had no intention, no desire of ever wanting to be a DJ. By 1992, you can see here, I've signed the back of the card, Andy Ward, in brackets, DJ. And that's the 21st of January, 1992. As we continue, I will tell you exactly when I became a DJ. And we're back again to the beginning. So what we're going to do now, thank you for joining any of the new viewers. I can see we're getting new viewers passing through. Please say hello so I know you're there. And at any point, drop me a comment. I'm probably going to be about 45 seconds behind you commenting and then me being able to reply. So please forgive me if there is a slight delay. Jeff is asking me, did I have a Serco card? No, I don't recall having a Serco card. That was much later though, wasn't it? I think Serco. Not much later, but a little bit later. Right. Easy Dread. Frankie Shields, my old school buddy, firm follower and supporter of my streams. Thank you for being here. So what I am about to do now is change the screen, and ever so briefly you'll see playing in the background. I've had to mute the audio because I didn't want the stream to get cut, and it would definitely get cut. While I'm talking, I'm going to have playing in the background on loop a video, as you can see, from Starlight, the 12th of June 1991, Handsworth, Birmingham. This is carnage. The full video, including the audio, is actually available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/DJ Andy Ward. If you want to watch this, I think there's about 40 minutes of footage, 50 minutes of footage that you can see, listen to the music. Phil Gifford joins us. Hello, brother. Welcome along, sir. Stick around if you can, because you'll be able to help piece some of the jigsaw together. We're going to be talking about venues and events that you would have been heavily involved with. Actually, Phil, let me go back. I'm not sure if you saw. Where did I go? Slides. There. to this one. I was just showing Phil this. These are all my Prestatin cards. I've gone the wrong way typically. Bear with, bear with. There's Rob Johnson. Check him out. Easy Pete, homeboy after Vale. How are you, brother? Right, here we go. So steering wheel, I showed Phil, and then that one. I found a photo. In my wisdom, I took photographs of some of the membership cards that I had, and then I just chucked them away. But this was a very special piece of plastic owned by many of us. Another one that I showed Phil from Breathless, and then a Venus Club. Right, okay, so Phil Gifford, the promoter behind Wobble, amongst many other things in Birmingham, says Starlight was the first time we saw a big argon laser at the second Starlight in Small Heath. That will bring me onto my list. So I've come back here again. Yeah, so Starlight's playing in the background. I'll change the windows. Starlight's playing. Little picture of me there. And here we have a list. Now, this list was given to me by my good friend Brad Hatton. It's the fourth, whatever. It's one of a series of lists that he gave me documenting our clubbing from 1989 to 1982. For the next however long, I'm going to sit here talking you through this list and talk about any memories that may pop up as I do that. What was I going to say? Yeah, Brad now lives in Australia. He still has diaries of all of his rave days, and he's so very kindly gone through them all and jotted down some of the highlights. So at the top it says 1991. You can't see, it's just cut off. Safari Club, coast to coast. So these are all, no, I was going to say these are all Birmingham, but that would be a lie because I can already see that we're moving out of Birmingham. Safari Club, coast to coast, January 1991. So I'll paint the picture of the scene. In 1991, I was renting a house with my partner at the time in Aston, and I held down a full-time job. By this point, I wasn't a DJ. I keep saying it, but I never wanted to be a DJ. Some of my friends were DJs and they were mighty fine DJs. Didn't interest me to pick up a pair of headphones or get behind the decks at all. So that was where we were at Christmas into New Year in January. We just saw Lenny, MC Lenny, walking past the screen there. This is the setup of the rave in the Handsworth Leisure Centre. As I say, 12th of June 1991. It's going to state what's so very obvious, but some people might be watching on their phones, so you might not be able to see a lot of the detail. Continuing down the list, Energy at Eclipse in Coventry in January. Then it says a trip at yours in Aston. Now maybe he means a trip to yours. No, he doesn't, does he? He means trip at yours. So what we used to do, if there were no big events on, we would basically all come round to the house that I was renting, and we'd just stick a tape on and we'd just party through the early hours of the morning. Anything between 10 and 20 people in my front room in Aston. Microdots, window panes, yada yada yada, Rizzlers, cigarettes, poppers, you name it, we did it. So that would have been January. In February, a big rave, Perception in Oxford. Energy at the Eclipse in February, and Brad has highlighted again that Frankie Bones was playing. Now, still while we're talking, they're setting up the rave in the background. You can see all the platforms are being constructed. I remember at one of these, the dance platforms actually collapsed. It could have been this one. It might have been a different one. Luckily, nobody was hurt. But yeah, I remember it vividly. Coming to your comments, Damien Squire, Escape had the best flyers back in the day. They were the premium ones. We would ask the older boys to bring them back for us. And Phil says Perception were the best raves ever. It's all a blur to me. All an absolute blur. Very, very surprising. There's only one or two specific moments that I remember in raves, and that's genuinely either because I was throwing up over somebody, or we were, yeah. There's specific reasons why I remember things in venues, but so many of them are all a blur. And Frank says strawberries and ohms. Yeah, indeed, definitely. Where did I get to on the list? So again, here now, a trip out of Birmingham to Nottingham, flying at Venus. You would have seen one of the membership cards there. Of course, legendary nights. So Venus itself as a venue was legendary, and then flying, the promotions. I love that little clip of Lenny. Go on, Lenny. Flying as a promotion was also legendary. And as I say, it was all about the music for me back then. Because I never intended to be a DJ, I didn't really pay a great deal of attention to who the DJs were. I used to love the music, as we all did, but I didn't really focus on the DJs too much. So we've got March, flying at Venus, April, flying in London, in Soho, and then April again, flying at Venus in Nottingham. Now, I don't recall going to those with Brad. This is all from Brad's diary. I would have been at some of them. I wouldn't have been at others. Hi, Mal, saying a shout out from Mallorca. A few years after Mel and I were boyfriend and girlfriend for about 3 weeks, I think, wasn't it, Mel? I can't even remember how old we were. 14 or 15 or something like that. Actually, no, we must have been older than that. Anyway, that's another story, another lifetime. Moving down the list, Cake at Brum in April, legendary cake parties. I only remember one cake event that I went to. The Institute in May, Notes in May as well. I'm just looking at the ravers on the screen, going for it. Early doors at Starlight. Now, one of my pals who I grew up with, who my brother grew up with, actually, a very good friend of ours, is on this video. I won't spot him up or mention him by name, but I think he was about 15 or 16 at this rave. No, he said he wasn't off his tits. He said he was just dancing all night long, and I believe him. So yes, Phil says, yeah, two hands up to Notes. Flying at Coast to Coast in May. It's all a blur to me. I don't remember any of this. Cake at Unity House in Digbeth. That's the cake I remember. Mixmag party at Venus in the May 1991. Starlight in Bloxwich in the June. Flying in Nottingham in June. And then in June 1991, Brad and the lads went to Ibiza. I'm not sure if it was the first time that they went, but I didn't go with them. To put it into perspective, around about this time, in June 1991, I turned 21, and I ended the relationship that I was in. And it wasn't long after that that a young lady by the name of Michelle stole my heart, and we moved out of our house. I moved out of my house in Aston to a block of flats in a different part of Birmingham. I've spoken about it several times. 19th floor, council flats next to the M6 motorway, and Michelle and I became an item, and I've not been able to get rid of her ever since. So that's what was going on in my life around that time, and I would have been going out a hell of a lot with Michelle, her ex at the time, my ex at the time, and some of our friends as well. So that's what I was doing. So let's get back to June. Starlight in Bloxwich. Michelle throws up a heart. That's obviously a little bit delayed from when I said I can't get rid of her. Jeff Jefferson says we went to Coast together one night. Now, Jeff, I actually grew up with. I've said this several times, so you forgive me if I'm repeating what you already know, but Jeff and I have known each other since we were 6 years of age. And I keep saying it, Jeff, please badger me, mate. We've got to do a live stream. We've got to do an interview. Okay, let's make it happen. Okay, so back to the list. Ibiza 91, all the lads went. I remember Brad coming back in his bedroom. He had a huge poster that he'd got. I mean, like a massive one. You know, you get off the billboards for Coup, I think it was. I was very, very envious that I hadn't gone with them because Ibiza was the place to be. And I think actually at some point earlier on, not that year, the year before, I don't know if I mentioned it in the previous stream. Myself and a friend of mine who I used to work with, we went off to work in Mallorca, in Magaluf. Coincidentally, Mal, we went to work in Magaluf. We were supposed to be there for the season. I ended up staying there for 2 weeks and coming home. That was my attempt at travelling and being a raver abroad. And I think that's why I wasn't interested in going to Ibiza then. On the video, you can see all the lads giving it loads in their customised tank tops. Mental. Remember them? Radio rental. Brilliant. Okay, I am rabbiting on, but I think it's just all these memories that come back to me, so forgive me. Where are we? Flying Venus, Ibiza 91. Delight, moving the list up. Delight at the Hummingbird in July. It's all a blur. Flying at Venus. Pure at the Institute for a Brandon block. A Better Way at the Institute in August 1991. Brad and the boys went back in August to Ibiza again. Helsinki Bar, Leicester in September. Now, by this point, I think they were just getting the bug for a lot of the free movement parties. The free party movement, get my words out, and the beginnings or the rise to fame for DIY and the likes. And you'll see that some of the parties that Brad and the lads used to go to were very heavily dictated by that kind of scene, whereas I was more on the hardcore scene, like the video you're watching here. When I moved to the block of flats in June 1991, a friend that I'd known from the raves lived in a separate building to me, a separate block of flats. His name was Dexter, and he had a pair of decks, and I had to go on his decks. I found that I was really quite good at matching the beats, and that was it. I had the bug. I bought some turntables later on that year, and that was the start of my DJing. So that's how I actually did become a DJ. On the video here, I can't remember that young lady. Actually, I don't even know who that lady is, but there you can see Bassman, legendary MC. Where did I get to on the list? Breathless, Better Way, Pure, Breathless at Snobs, A Better Way again, Primal Scream at the Institute in October. I wouldn't have gone to that. I wouldn't say I couldn't stand Primal Scream, but it just wasn't my style, wasn't my scene at all. Goldwyn's in October 1991 for a man called Adam. Can't remember that. Crackle at Goldwyn's in November. I can't even think where Goldwyn's is. Jeff, Phil, where was Goldwyn's? Anybody want to tell me? A Better Way at the Institute for November. Then November and December, trips to the Hacienda. Now on the video here, you can see this robot and it says Bill the Robot. Now that was the first robot that came out. Not long after that, a very, very good friend of mine, Rob O'Shea, one evening decided that that robot was shit and he could do a much better job. So he went out, had his body, had a cast of his body made and created a custom made fiberglass suit. He had a specialized laser made and he called himself Ricochet, and then he was traveling up and down the country doing really huge raves, getting really good money for it. And Rob was actually a guy who got me my first ever gig up in Morecambe on Morecambe Pier. I think I got paid something like 300 quid for it. I'd only been DJing a few months. I couldn't believe it. And Rob's someone that I've lost touch with. Many of us will know Rob and will remember Ricochet. He wasn't a gimmicky robot on stilts, but he was quite tall. He looked like RoboCop. He basically was RoboCop with a laser on his head, and it cost him thousands to get that suit made. It was really good. Really, really good. Shout out to Ricochet. And then finally down here, 1991, Flying Records. I don't know what all this is at the bottom. I should have asked Brad, really. So that was 91. Still in the background. Everyone's going for it in the middle of June, sweating their little tits off. Anything between the ages of 16 to 21, 22. Beak Street, Jeffy's saying. Obviously, I think he's talking about Goldwyn's. Our friend there, Claire, at the bottom. You'll see many faces. Johnny Morgan. Look, Jeff. Johnny Morgan at the bottom of the screen. Living his best life. Let's just watch him. Go on, Johnny. Yeah. Okay, so where are we? Oh, hello. No, I'm not going to pay any attention to the video. So that's 1991. Let me move this down a little bit and share 92. So 1992 now. Again, these are all events that Brad would have gone to. The Gardening Club in Coventry, the Tonka Sound System, Alfredo in January at the Institute. DIY came to Birmingham in February 1992, performed at Snobs. A Perfecto Night, Paul Oakenfold, Fisher, etc. That was at the Institute. These are all turning into the more, I guess, Balearic, if you want to pull that name out of thin air. But this was where the big split happened. This was where you'd say to someone, are you mellow or are you rave? The ravers continued to shock out, like you can see on the left hand on the video, and everyone who said they were mellow then moved themselves into the clubs, started dressing very differently, started listening to very different music. I was the same. A few months behind, we were still going to big raves in 92, but we were also still going to the clubs as well. Venus in Nottingham, Institute R&D in March. I don't know what that means. Tonka DJs in March. Primal Scream and Weatherall DJ'd in March. Not sure where that was. Love Revolution at Snobs in April, and Love Revolution at the Institute in April as well. Cream at the Institute in May, and then Wobble in May 1992. By this time, Wobble was a weekly event, and many of us would have been going there. Castle Morton. Now, I remember this. This is, and as Brad says in his handwriting, history with 2 exclamation marks. Anybody that was at Castle Morton will know all about it. Anybody that was raving at the time will have heard about Castle Morton. If you haven't, then do a little Googling, because Castle Morton was a game changer, an absolute game changer. I've read the DIY book, Dreaming in Yellow, and it documents it extensively. There's also a lot more footage available for you to check out on YouTube. And that was a huge free party, an amalgamation of many of the sound systems from up and down the country. And it basically changed clubbing. It changed the clubbing landscape forever. So that was in May. I remember Castle Morton vividly. In June 1992, DIY DJs again at the Institute. In June, Brad went to the Hacienda. By this time, there was huge parties up and down the country. Afternoon, Andrew. How are you, brother? Yes, Starlight. We've just been talking about this. It was June 91, as it says on the screen. I've just ran through a list of events that we went to in 91. Now we're talking about 92, and we're currently up to June, where a lot of the free parties were smashing it up and down the country, and DIY DJs were definitely the order of the day for a lot of the lads. I was focusing a lot on my own DJ escapades at this point, starting to buy records, starting to find my feet, starting to hone my skills. So I was going to different places. I was still going to some of the big raves. I do recall at the point, as I said already, Michelle and I were an item, traveling around pretty much a lot together. So I wouldn't have been with the lads by this point. The girl took my eye. She stole me from them. Summer Solstice Free Party in Leicester in June. A Travellers Festival in Devon in June called Not Glastonbury. Damien Squire says Fantasy Bournemouth was his first proper rave. He was 15. He told his mum it was like a festival. Mickey Linus's wedding was called The Book of Love. That was put on by Amnesia. I cannot remember where it was. That was one of the only Amnesias that I never went to, and I've no idea why I didn't go, but I do remember that I wasn't there. You can Google it, it'll tell you. There's actually a brilliant piece of filming, a brilliant movie, a documentary, if you want to call it, on YouTube of the Amnesia story. It's in a couple of parts. It's put together really, really well. Tells you about how they began, tells you about all the heads behind Amnesia, and they were a bunch of heads, let me tell you that, as everybody knows. Definitely recommend it. Next up in the list, July 1992, Rockwell's, and it says you DJ'd. Obviously, this list is for me. So for years, I couldn't remember where Rockwell's was, and I think Rockwell's is the one that is down in the what we call the gay village now in Birmingham, down the hill, and used to DJ on the top floor, if memory serves me correct. So I was DJing there. I think I was DJing with my friend Bod as well. Andrew Milford says rave was done by the beginning of 92. Sorry, end of 91, 92. Well, it may have been for you, but it's clear to see that rave continued for a long time after, and a lot of people made a lot of money. So you might have turned your back on it, but there's no way it was done 91, 92, mate. I won't have any of that. I agree that it was, passe, but it wasn't done by any stretch of the imagination. Snobs in July, Cream at Hawkins in July. Andy Weatherall played Hawkins, of course, down by the Children's Hospital. Now, this would have been a party to talk about. I'm not sure if Phil is still watching. Apparently, we spoke about this on the stream that Phil and I had. Graham and Julie's barn party in Hereford. And actually, Mr. Milford, Phil Gifford has put your name forward and said that you would be an excellent advocate for coming on and joining me to talk about the history of clubbing for yourselves and all the things that you were involved with. So we're definitely going to make that happen at some point. Cream All Nighter in a Restaurant, August 1992. Bounce DIY in Nottingham in the August. Oh, look, there's me on the screen. Look, top off. Anyway, what was I saying? Bounce DIY Nottingham in August. The End of Crescent's Party in Manchester Hume in August. I'll throw this up a little bit more. Universe Rave in September. We were in the DIY tent all night long. I remember that specifically, that party. Infamous. There's loads of recordings. There's loads of recordings of all of these raves available online, actually. And yeah, Andy, no problem. There's, I know you weren't knocking it, but we all feel the same. Trends come and go, and you turn your back on them. But I was talking to Majika last week, and he was saying about, how his career just rocketed, and the raves just went on and on. On the screen there, we all know and love him. May God rest his soul. Derek, aka Derek the Dancer, again, living his best life, sweating his little titties off. And the bass man giving it loads as well. Mad to think. 31 years ago. Anyway, where did I get to on the list? Snobs in September, DIY Rave in Belton, Leicestershire, Happy Monday in the Jam MCs in Leicester, Snobs, Paul Moran DJ'd in October, Bounce in October and November, a DIY party in Sheffield, and again another sponge party and DIY played in Leicester. So by this point, as I've already said, Brad and the lads were already off doing their own things, and I was starting to get gigs in different parts of the only different parts of Birmingham. We would play at Greens, myself and Dexter. So Dexter was the guy who let me have a go on his decks. Eventually I would buy some turntables and a small record collection from my friend Daz Thomas. Shout out to Daz if you ever get to see this. I always say thank you, my friend. I owe you a lot. And then myself and Dexter would spend all our days in his flat or in my flat practicing mixing. Derek would make a few records, bootlegs, basically just running two tunes at the same time, mashups. They sounded all right, but when you listen back to them now, they're actually terrible. But it was good fun at the time, you know, young 21, 22-year-olds just having a go, loving life. And there I am again on the screen. Oh, my life. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah. Also, a young gentleman by the name of Scott Bond was trying his hand at being a DJ. So Scott and Dexter were really good friends. There I am again on the screen. He's gone. Dexter and Scott Bond were really good friends. I jumped in and kind of joined and created the trio, and then we were all inseparable for a little bit. And then at some point, we got involved with Marcos. So let me go to 1993 now. Not 1993, sorry. This is the second part of 1992. A lot of more underground events. Snobs, Jasmine's, Snobs Christmas Cake in December, Love Revolution at the Institute for Boxing Day, New Year's Eve 92 into 93. All the lads were at a DIY party in Bath. Another Graham and Julie's house party in Hereford in January. Bounce, Jasmine's, Splosh, Oscillate, Notes, Palms Bar, Raphael's in February 92. So that's on a Saturday afternoon. We'd all meet up. We'd go uptown. We'd be drinking in all of those bars. Notes, Palms Bar, which for the life of me, I couldn't have remembered if you paid me $1 million. And then seeing this list, the name came into my head. We'd spend all day. We'd go shopping, record shopping, then we'd be drinking, and then we'd carry on to Marco's, and then we'd go to the Steering Wheel, and then maybe on to Wobble or to Bonds. As you see here, September, fun at the Steering Wheel, where Paul Moran was DJing, and Oscillate sound system at Bonds in September as well. I'm sure Justin Bond will remember that. I've skipped past something here, which I've just realised. A DIY party for Sheffield. And then in September, Brad says here he went travelling around Thailand. That was from February until September. So by this point, I was continuing to go out and try and get more gigs. I did start off by saying we used to do regular parties at Greens, and it never really came to much, but it was still, still an opportunity for me to get out and play. I think I remember getting paid 20 quid one night. I was beside myself with excitement, couldn't believe it. Hello Dave, how are you, mate? Just saying hello to my friend on the screen there. Moving down the list, DIY, Wobble, Neil Macy and DK. Where am I? Graham and Julie's house and barn party in Hereford again. Hudson's Bay in brackets Snobs. Heroes Bar in Birmingham. The Steering Wheel. Rob Johnson did a party at the Key Club. No idea where that is. Bonds and Wobble in November. Escape in Brighton in November. DIY at the Hacienda in December 1992. Daz Ellis, so I think this is Daz Thomas and our friend Ellis. They must have put a party on at Coast to Coast called Kite, maybe. Decadence at the Engine House in Bromsgrove. Wow, the Engine House, forgot all about that in Tardebig. Boxing Day at Marco's, and Brad puts an exclamation mark and says their first visit. And then finally in the list of 1992, it says Raphael's for New Year's Eve, and then to Cabello All Nighter, where I played. That was life for us back in the day. Let's go. No, if I go back there, that video is going to start again. I'll go back and I'll move the video one. Where am I in the video? 29 minutes in. I know it's still playing. Is it? Yeah, still playing. So there you go. That was it. That was what we were doing. I just wanted to document it, really, just so it was shared. A lot of the first part that we did is available. It's on my YouTube. It's also on my Facebook wall. There's a lot of real great memories there. Us moving from being monsters into becoming full-on acid house ravers. Oh, Phil is still watching. Nice one, Phil. I'm glad that you caught some of that, my friend, because you would have related to a lot of that. A lot of it all documented for history, and we thank you, Phil. I said it live on the I said thank you live on our stream, but thank you very much for being a huge part of all of our journeys, setting the path that we all emulated at some point down the line. And that's basically where we get to the end of this video here. Beer barons, is that what you used to call them? Mr. Milford. Right, okay, so Jeff Jefferson, we're going to hook up a live conversation. Andrew Milford. Actually, I'll tell you what, why don't we do it, the both of you guys? I will finish this and I'll send you a message. We'll coordinate. It might be difficult because I know you're both very busy. So we'll make it happen. We'll definitely make it happen. Easy, Mr. Fisher. I didn't know you were there. I wish you'd have said earlier, brother. We've been mentioning some incredible parties that you were responsible for. Again, I'm going to be getting back in touch with Mr. Fisher at some point, bring him back on. Brummers fuck. Lee and I had a conversation about 2 years ago, and the phrase Brummers fuck popped up. We talked about getting t-shirts and all kind of things, a website. It never materialized, but I got a lot of love for Lee. I owe him I'm not sure whether he came up with the idea or I did, but it doesn't really matter. Brummers fuck. I'll give it to Lee because he's the man. He's definitely also responsible for a lot of things. I'm just reading back through some of these comments now. Thumbs up from Phil. Jeff Jefferson, yes, he's saying fantastic, we'll get that done. Now, I did see a comment from Frank. Here we go. I always remember it being really busy around Christmas and the New Year for big parties. Yes, indeed. And Damien says, it's making me think I wish I made a list. Definitely lost some events in the passage of time. Haven't we all, mate? Haven't we all? Actually, Lou, you owe me a tenner because I bought the domain and we never did anything with it. So let's not talk about who owes money. On the screen, we just saw Keith Suckling, an incredible DJ back in the day. He did actually achieve some big things, but he could have been and should have been a lot bigger. Keith Suckling is one of the few DJs out of Birmingham that I never really had a friendship with. I never really got to know him that well. And but again, he definitely forged a path for a lot of us. So, right, look, loving sitting here talking to you all. I could just carry on talking, watching this video, but I'm sure you've all got other things that you can be doing. If you like this video, Starlight, then it is available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/DJ Andy Ward. You can hear the music as well. It's noisy. It's proper noisy. Mr. Milford, Leonard Milford, Keith Suckling, DJ Dynamo, listing out some names of all the DJs. And anyone else that wasn't with me live that I'm sure you'll have been shared this video with to reminisce. Brad, of course, thank you, mate, for the list. Absolutely love you more than I could ever tell you publicly. And all the rest of the lads that I've journeyed with along the way. The utmost respect. Thank you for your kind words, Lee. I'm going to go. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks, guys. Take care.